Fantastic. Well, while everyone's trying to join in, I want to share with you all before we get started in earnest that we have a jam-packed session today full of lots of value, lots of education. A warning for you, it's going to be interactive through the chat box. So I would encourage you to get involved and it will be educational. And I warn you now, it will be fast-paced. So welcome, paced. I should get that out right early on. Okay, welcome everyone. Throw your names into the chat box and tell us where you are attending from. It'd be great to know who is our furthest person away from us at the moment. So I'm just going to pull up the chat so I can see that. We've got Caroline in New Zealand. I think you'll probably win that, Caroline. Lisa's in Sydney. Vickers from Sydney. Make sure you can hear me loud and clear, everybody. I just want to make sure that I'm coming through to you. Welcome, Chris from Sydney. Fantastic. You can hear me, which is great. We've got Jane from Melbourne. Welcome, welcome. Okay, all right. I'd love you to also pop in the chat box because I think we have a variety of industries covered today. Please type in the chat box what industry you're in. I have the wonderful Caroline who has been with me for some almost 15 years. She's going to be managing the chat box for any issues or questions that you have, and we are going to leave a significant amount of time. Welcome, Chris from the federal government. Great to have you here. We've got Lisa from manufacturing. We're going to leave a significant amount of time for questions at the end, and I would encourage you all to get your questions in because we will be taking them in the order that they do come in on. Now, I encourage you all to lean in today. What I do know is that the more that you put into this webinar, the more you're going to get out of it. I'm going to give you everything I've got today. So in order to encourage that, I'm giving away not one, but 2 copies of my book, From Hire to Fire and Everything in Between. Now, the first copy is going to go to the person with the best question. And the second copy is going to the person who's the most interactive in the chat box, all judged by Caroline. So you need to impress her today.
So I'm going to turn off my camera for now, leave the focus on Natasha, and I will see you all at the end of the presentation, and just message me in the chat box if you have any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Caroline. So what I do want to share with you is I'm going to share with you today our recruitment genius model, where you're going to be able to assess for yourself whether you are where you are in terms of your recruitment at the moment. Are you a gold star player or are you at the bottom of the class? Now, if you are at the bottom of the class, don't worry, we're going to be sharing some ways that you can fix that. We're also going to be sharing a QR code at the end of the session where we're going to have some gifts for you today that are going to help you with your hiring. So as everyone's still streaming in, we are going to get on with it to look after and acknowledge everyone's time. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Employee Matters acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. All right, one thing I do need to do before we get started. This is a short disclaimer. We are not employment lawyers. The information that I'm sharing with you today is general in nature and is not legal advice. If you do want further advice after the session, you're more than welcome to come and get that from us. So let's kick off a little bit about me. My name is Natasha Hawker. I'm the founder and director of Employee Matters. We specialize in helping businesses of all sizes drive exceptional business performance through their employees. Think employee relations, policies, recruitment, and terminations. Here's the thing though, I actually believe the current models of recruitment is broken. And if you agree with me, pop it in the chat box. Businesses can no longer afford to spend too much to get too little. Exceptional recruitment isn't just about hiring great talent. It's about protecting your time, your brand, and your bottom line. And today we're going to walk you through some of the most common mistakes that we see over and over in the recruitment process. Believe me, I've been doing this about 30 years. I hate to say it. But more importantly, we're going to share with you how you can fix some of those. But if you have seen me present before, please do share that in the chat, and welcome back. It's lovely to have you back again. So let's kick off with the agenda now. I want to share with you what we're going to be running through. It is jam-packed. 5 common recruitment mistakes. See if you're making any of them. Why agencies are falling short for people. I want to talk about doing it yourself. I think there is often a misconception that that is going to save you money, but I want to explore what can go wrong with that model. A cost of getting it wrong, I'm actually going to share with you what the costs are. Some of them are literally eye-watering, and I think there should be some surprises for people in there. And I'm going to get you to go away and do some calculations for yourselves. I want to talk about how we hire as an investment strategy, and then I'm going to give you the smarter hiring practices, which you can all go and do yourselves. So before we get into the detail, I want to do a quick icebreaker, a poll. I want to know across the group of people that we have on here what you're seeing in your business. So the quick poll is, tell me, what are your biggest recruitment challenges? There's no naming and shaming here, guys. It's completely confidential. I cannot see what you've voted. So what are your biggest recruitment challenges? 1, finding qualified candidates consistently. 2, candidates don't actually meet the job requirements that you've set. 3, recruitment processes can be lengthy and very resource intensive. And 4, poor communication leads to negative impressions of employers. So I'm seeing those come in. Thank you for jumping on that super quickly. Winning at the moment is the recruitment processes can be lengthy and resource intensive. You are absolutely right. One of the reasons for that is we are seeing a significant uptick in the number of applications we're receiving for any role we put out. Now, I've got a pretty good feeling that that is AI enabling us to do that. So I can see that we've almost got 50% of people have voted. Please get those in. I want to get as clear a picture on this as possible. Here's the other thing we're seeing. 64% of candidates that apply for a role don't actually fit the criteria. So you are wasting time reviewing candidates that aren't even a match for the job. So that is very, very intensive. A couple more seconds just to get those last few in. If you can vote, that would be amazing. And then I will end the poll now and we will see the results. So here is the sharing. Finding quality applicants consistently. 21%. Candidates don't meet the job requirements set. 32. Recruitment processes can be lengthy and resource intensive. You are absolutely right. That's the winner at 47%. And we didn't get any. Poor communication leads to negative impressions of employers. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing those results. That is excellent. It's interesting to see those come through. So this is what we need to stop doing. So hiring isn't just about filling a seat. It's about acquiring an asset. One bad hire can cost you multiples of their salary and blow a massive hole in your profitability and your productivity. It's likely that for many of your last or past bad hires, these don'ts that I'm going to walk you through have played a significant part in the result that you got. So who here, again, pop it in the chat box, has a long-term unfilled vacancy in their business at the moment? I would love to see that. And I'm just going to grab my chat box up again so I can see what is being put in there. Long-term vacancies, pop that in the chat box. And then I'd love you to have a think about why it's still unfilled. And feel free to share that in the chat box as well. We all want to learn from each other. So anyone got any long-standing unfilled vacancies? And the other thing I wanted to share here is every hire is an asset that is worth careful evaluation. Bad hires and long-term vacancies have a massive downstream impact. Bad hires are a negative multiplier. They drain your culture, they lose you customers, they waste management time, and we need a mind shift change on that. We have actually developed our own free online recruitment cost calculator, which instantly empowers you to estimate your recruitment costs and needs. And we'll be sharing details of that in our gift pack at the end of the webinar. Now, on to what are the 5 hiring mistakes that we see over and over again. So here's the first one. AI, I'm going to be controversial here, is not always the answer. And I'm a massive fan of AI. I was actually a guest on Sunrise talking about this fairly recently. Who doesn't love a shortcut? But really, relying on AI as a hiring gatekeeper has its own risks. AI can absolutely support but not replace human judgment. So by all means, use AI to streamline your hiring process, but human assessment remains a non-negotiable for behavior and cultural fit. Not to mention the emotional intelligence and soft skills that remain essential. So don't get me started on AI delivered robo interviews. There was recently an article in the BBC that I read, and can you actually believe these things are taking off? But they are. Not only are they an affront to the candidate, we believe they're incredibly dangerous for your brand and also employee value proposition or perspective, even when they're masked as a time saver for HR. So when a human can't be bothered to take the time to have a conversation with a candidate, you already have a problem. If someone is bought into your culture of your business from day one, they are much more likely to deliver value more quickly, a higher level of value, and also they're likely to stay with your business for longer. So that's the first mistake we see. The second mistake we see is I often see that clients just dust off an old job description in order to find and hire a carbon copy of the last person who left the business. But your business isn't static. There has never been more change in the workplace than what there is now. What you needed 3 years ago is not what you need today. A vacancy isn't always just a crisis. It is an opportunity. What I would love you to do is take a look at your business plan for the next 12 to 24 months and beyond the review of the job description with a view of filling the gaps that you foresee in the future. What is this person going to need to do, not now, but 18 months, 24 months, 36 months in the future? So stop playing catch up and start driving growth in your business. Hire for the future and not for the past is the secret here. So here's what we see. When a team is short-staffed, the pressure is immense and managers get desperate. But the biggest mistake that you can make right now is hiring the first person who comes along. A hasty fix almost always backfires, and it can result in a really poor cultural fit and really pricey to do it over again just a few months later down the track. So you have to absolutely protect your business, protect your team and your culture. Take the time to hire mindfully and hire for results and not for relief. So here is the next one that we see people getting wrong. So mirror bias. So because of a lack of interview training, which is a big problem, managers can fall into a very unconscious trap. We tend to naturally like people who are like us, a mirror reflection. People who like my yellow jacket. I deliberately wore yellow today to keep it bright and keep you awake. If a candidate went to the same school, laughs at the same jokes, shares our hobbies, our brain instantly codes them as like-minded high performers because we all think we're all high performers, don't we? But compatibility is not capability. You aren't hiring your new best friend. You're hiring for a specific skill set. The lesson is hire for competence, not a copy. And what I will share with you for now too is what we're hiring for now is changing rapidly. The old day of hiring for experience is changing. We now need to hire for adaptability and things like that. So there is a massive change in the market at the moment. So here's the thing, finally, lesson 5, relying on intuition is a common recruitment trap where unconscious bias thrives. A successful hiring process requires professionalizing the selection process. A big bugbear for me. Managers often don't know how to hire, manage, and exit. We need to get them to be recruitment gurus. They need to understand the selection process and treating interviewing as a learned technical skill rather than just relying on natural instinct. By replacing gut feel with structured frameworks and standardized process, businesses move beyond comfortable chemistry to identify a talent or talent in your team that will truly drive longer term success within your business, which is what we all require. So, recruitment agencies. Um, Recruitment agencies usually charge a percentage. Everyone on this call is probably familiar with them. It's a percentage of the salary of the candidate's salary as a fee, and this can easily climb into the tens of thousands of dollars for just one hire. Now, if you decide to hire more than one candidate, which often actually happens, it's more common than what you think, you often pay double. In addition, you have the double charge trap. So if that agency placed candidate leaves or proves to be a poor cultural fit after a few months and their guarantee is gone, you've often lost the initial fee, and you can then have to pay a second fee or spend more internal resources to actually fill exactly the same role again. So essentially, you're double paying for one placement. Many agencies tend to be quite transactional. They have high fees, and they often place candidates with a view to filling a seat rather than focusing on the longer term fit for that candidate and developing a deep knowledge of your business or your requirements. And some, and it's not many, but some really unscrupulous agencies have been known to pinch a candidate that they have previously placed of theirs and place them elsewhere just to get another fee. Just saying, it does happen. So, doing it yourself. I love this image. What could possibly go wrong? We all think we're better at things than we sometimes are. If a do-it-yourself hire quits or has to be let go within the first 6 months, the entire manual recruitment process has to start from scratch again, doubling the time and the capital spent. Recruitment is a full-time job. It's a discipline. When managers or business owners handle it themselves, they are often pulled away from their core responsibilities, what they do best: revenue generation, client management, or strategic growth. The do-it-yourself recruitment processes can drag out. Vacant roles mean existing staff are overworked, leading to burnout. Then you've got a psychosocial hazard on your hands. Dropped balls and the increased morale, or decreased morale rather, across the current team because they're getting burnt out. You really need to act very quickly to secure candidates. All the good ones have already found jobs on average, and if this is a surprise to you, let me know, within 10 days of looking for a job. So if you're too busy to review your applications or screen or interview, you're already missing out. Those great candidates have gone and you're left with the second tier candidates. So damage to reputation is also a risk not to be underestimated. Candidate management, we call it. Inboxes get overwhelmed during DIY campaigns, leading to candidates being ignored. A poor performance experience damages your employer brand on platforms. Glassdoor, look up your rating on Glassdoor. You can look yourself up as a CEO or an MD as well. And Google, making it harder to attract that top tier talent. And then there's the post and pray limitation. So most do-it-yourself efforts rely solely on job boards. And what this does is it misses what we call the passive candidate market. Those high-performing individuals who aren't actually looking for jobs at the moment, but would move for the right professional approach and the right job. So headhunting avenues, which we use all the time, and approaches are a finessed skill set developed over many years of experience. So let's talk about this one. And I think there's going to be some surprises in this slide for some of you. So here are some frightening stats around a bad hire. I believe it costs between 50 and 150% on top of base salary to hire. 50% at the lower junior level, 150 for a CEO that's going to take 12, 18 months to actually make the impact. But what is included in that 50 to 150%? It's everything from agency fees, advertising, interview times, second interview times, offer and acceptance negotiation, training, the cost of the person who's doing the training and the onboarding, and the time to get that person fully up to speed and operational and performing at the required levels for the job. There is potentially a decrease in team morale over a poor hire, and that spills over into a drop of productivity, and it can cause a ripple effect through an organization. I often say when we're exiting an employee that has been not performing for a while, your team often celebrates because they know that individual is not performing, and it reflects badly on you as a leader for not doing anything about that. 60% of hiring managers report that a bad hire didn't get on with co-workers. So there's a misfit there. According to Talent Hub, 20% of new employees leave within the first 45 days of employment due to a poor onboarding performance. I usually say it's 6 months. They're gone within 6 months if they're not onboarded well. I believe that, well, I suppose have a think. If you imagine that they fall over after 3 months, and you then have to go and rehire, then you're already 9 months behind your original schedule. Food for thought also that we haven't even included the 4 to 8 weeks that it usually takes to hire someone, especially if there's a notice period of a month involved in that as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that slide, whether there are any surprises for you in that slide. So let's talk about changing tact here. I want to talk about thinking about hiring as an investment. A new hire is a similar investment commitment to buying high value machinery. Now, what I mean by that is just as high value machinery or machinery requires careful consideration, could be software, so does selecting the right candidate for your team. I always say that you need to get about a 1 to 3, or better still, a 1 to 4 return on the wages you're paying. So let me talk you through that. So for example, if you're paying 100K in salary, you should be getting on average a 300K return minimum. So let me tell you about how to think about that in another way. If your business is turning over or has a revenue of $1 million and you have 5 employees, so on average, each employee is delivering $200,000 worth of value of revenue to you. And assuming that you're only paying 50K in wages, that's a really good ROI. You're going to be a profitable business. You're going to be a growing business. But obviously there are roles in your business that might deliver a much higher ROI. For example, sales. You might be looking at 12 to 1 return on your sales. It's a really important stat to understand, either about the team and the revenue your team's delivering, or your business, to work out whether you're actually doing good business in getting that return on that investment. So a good ROI can only happen if you view hiring as an investment. Invest in smarter hiring practices. Hire the best talent and nurture your people so that they love you and they will stay with you for a really long time. So let's talk about some of those smarter hiring practices. So what does it need to look like? There are 3 main pillars, starting with your employer brand. You need to pay close attention to a well thought out job description, review it every time, it may have changed, and your job ad. The ad needs to be a high impact narrative that attracts top tier passive talent, those ones that aren't actively looking for work and not just active seekers. So the cultural fit, this is moving beyond the CV to assess behavioral traits and core alignment during the hiring process. And then finally, engagement, which is the offer stage. Closing the deal, aligning with personal motivators and making sure that their values are aligned and we get a yes. Hiring requires multiple skill sets, not just ticking boxes as part of the process. Let's change tact and talk a little bit about training. I'm going to be completely honest here. Many business owners and managers have never formally learnt how to interview. I'd love somebody to put in the chat box if you've ever done some interview skills training. I find it's rare. Most people don't do it. You just watch somebody and then you do it yourself. So think about it. We train people on sales, on finance, on operations, on software. But when it comes to the highest stakes decision, as in bringing in a new human to our ecosystem, we just expect managers to know how to do it. It's just part of a manager. Surely you know how to interview, but that's not always the case. And it can be very damaging when they don't do it well. So we talked about the 5 hiring mistakes earlier. So how do we fix these? We have actually have to shift from relying on that gut feel when your stomach tells you that's the right person to professionally crafted frameworks, structured interviews, and formal training. And in the absence of this, help from experienced professionals. So if you take away just one thing from this slide, let it be this. Structured interviewing is a hard skill. It's not a natural instinct. Nobody is just good at reading people. Instinct is where bias hides, and there's some risk around that if somebody raises a complaint against you because they felt that there was bias in your interview process. So great hiring is a repeatable process that must be taught, must be practiced, and must be refined. So I'm going to change tact now. I want you to draw this along with me. Grab a pen and paper, and I'm going to share my screen again. And I am going to draw you our recruitment genius model. And let me get this up on the screen. Grab a pen and paper, and I want you to write along with me, and I want you to score yourself. And this is how you are going to know how you're going with your recruitment at the moment. Let me just get Notability up. And all right, we are ready. So I'm going to get you to score yourself at a time at this in this model that I'm going to walk you through now. Amber, green, or red. Green, I am all good on this. I've got this absolutely covered. Orange, so-so. Red, I'm not doing it, or I don't even think we do it. That's what I want you to assess yourself when we get to that point. So at the center of everything we do, and what this is really all about, is building a business where your employees treasure your business as much as you do, and also they are your greatest treasure. And when you get that, you get something called the treasure dynamic. And from that, there are 3 key outputs, which is tenure, as in they stay with your business for a long time. Performance, you have a high performing team. You need 80% of your team to be high performing, by the way. And you have a highly engaged team. Engagement is the measure of discretionary effort. What will make someone go above and beyond for you, not just because you're paying them to, but because they are so bought into you and what you're doing, leading your team. In order to get that, there are 3 key inputs. You need to attract the best people for that job. You need to assess them to make sure they are the right people for the role and be able to justify your decision. Again, defend it if you have to. And lastly, you have to retain them. There's no point getting the best people into the business if we can't keep them in the business long term. So this is where I need you guys to get involved. Uh, People say to me, that's all well and good, Natasha, but how do I do this? And that's why we've come up with 9 key accelerators so that we can talk you through that. So let's talk about the assess side of the recruitment genius model first. First of all, you need to have the right checks and balances in place. By that, I mean doing great reference checks. People often don't do reference checks. It's a really bad mistake. Reference checks can be done very well. And I would always say, make sure you check through your interview who they are talking to, so you know you're talking to their boss and not their friend. Secondly, you need to be able to do a great interview. I talk about technical, behavioral, cultural interviews. Make sure you are competent in all of those. And last of all, you need to test. I use 2 lots of testing here. I talk about psychometric testing. We're huge fans of Harrison's. It's about job fit. Is Natasha fit to be a managing director? Yep. Here are all of her traits. Here are the nice to have, and here are the ones that don't matter if she can't do that. That is super important. The next one, and the other one that I would consider too, if you can give them some skills testing. So maybe they write a marketing plan or a business plan for you, and that's part of your recruitment assessment process. But get them to deliver it live, because otherwise you might just get a written version out of AI, but you can generally tell that when you get one of those anyhow. So let's talk about the attract. This is really, really important. We need to have, and are you rating yourself amber, green, and red as we do this? Employee value proposition. Do you have one that's documented? What's in it for me as the candidate to apply to your job? The second one is advertising. Can you write a great ad? Not only because it's interesting and impactful to read, but you need to understand what the algorithms behind are doing so that they are pushing that ad out to more and more people online. And last of all, search. This is where we're talking about, do you know where to go and hunt and find these candidates? But also, do you know how to have a headhunting conversation? Because the power dynamic changes when you do that. And it's back onto the candidate. Let's talk about retain. Here, we need to have a great onboarding process. So rank yourself amber, green, or red if you think your business has a great onboarding. I say it normally needs to take about 6 months. You need to have excellent career development for that individual. They need to understand, what are the opportunities if they do a great job within your business. And last of all, education and training. I think this is often a mistake I see in too many businesses. We don't spend enough money on training our people. And, it's that old adage, what do I do if I train Fred and he leaves? It's, well, what do you do if you don't train him and he stays? So have a think about that. So I'd love you to let us know if you've got all green. Fantastic. Shout out to you. But I hope that's been helpful to make you think about how you need to be looking at managing the holistic view of the recruitment genius model. Any surprises in the chat box there? Anything we're not thinking about? Okay, let's jump on to what doing it differently looks like. Okay, so we all know that there are a couple of options out there to recruit, and I'm sure some of you have used a number of these. Some of you may be only stuck in one. So number one, doing it yourself, the DIY version, with all the headaches that entails. So loss of time and you becoming the world's most expensive recruitment consultant in the process. Number two is having an expensive recruitment agency do it for you with high fees and most probably with someone who does not have a deep knowledge of your business. But did you know that there is actually a third option? I wanted to explore that with you. So I'd like to do a bit of a comparison chart of doing it yourself through an agency and explain an alternative third option that you may not have thought of. So agencies typically charge between 15 and 100, 12 and 15% of the salary of the hire for their fee. And that, if you're paying $100,000, that's 12 to 15 grand. That is not an insignificant amount of money. And the cost of doing it yourself, you have to think about your time. What's your hourly rate is a simple way of working it out, and then work out how many hours is it involved. So what time is it going to take you to write, you or your manager to write a job description, review the job description, write a job ad, place the job ad, screening and responding. We are getting on average over 200 candidates per role. Are you seeing similar when you're doing it yourself? The screening and responding to all the candidates and scheduling of the interviews, all of it. Also, you might be doing that as an untrained hiring manager, which typically means it takes you a lot longer. So it's time, it's money that is not often included. It's the other thing that we see is the time spent doing it all over again if you hire the wrong candidate. Often we see sometimes people oversell the role and then the individual goes in and it wasn't what it was explained and they leave very quickly. I want you to think about it in terms of what it's costing you to not do your day-to-day job. And it's usually you're not growing your business or not doing what you're really great at. The third option is one that I mentioned, which is working with Recruitment Partner, who's an outsourced professional who will integrate into your business and works as a member of your team, who understands your unique culture and operation, and they internally advocate for you. Feedback we often get from clients is that people feel like we're working for them and not the candidates. Believe me, we work for the candidates as well because they're just as an important part of the equation. But we help you find, interview, and hire the right candidates first time, every time, and not just filling a seat for a commission. In fact, our team don't get paid commission. They are often the solution that SMEs opt for when they either lack internal capability, or capacity, or they're unhappy with the results they're getting from agencies, or simply that it makes much more economic sense to outsource to a professional rather than go with option one or option two. So let's talk about the hidden traps of traditional hiring and the fatigue. So what we see when we look at traditional hiring is there's really high fees and there's fatigue and the danger of relying purely on gut feel or AI shortcuts. So how do we actually bridge that gap? The recruitment partner model delivers two core pillars. One is expert objectivity and a proven framework. And I want to talk about that objectivity. When you're deep in the trenches of running a team or your business, it's incredibly difficult to remain detached, really just looking at the details or the core skills during the hiring process. A recruitment partner brings that level, critical layer of expert objectivity to the table by combining our net external expertise and perspective with data-driven evaluations. They strip away that mirror bias and the emotional fatigue that we were talking about earlier. And this doesn't just ensure that there is an unbiased evaluation to find the absolute best candidate. It will drastically increase your team's decision-making efficiency. You aren't second guessing your gut anymore. You're relying on clear and objective data. The second pillar, and I think this is really interesting, is that an experienced recruitment partner will use a proven framework, but they don't reinvent the wheel every time. They don't wing it. So, for example, at Employee Matters, we utilize a very structured, embedded expert recruitment framework, completely streamlining your hiring process. And because the process is systemized, it dramatically reduces the administrative fatigue on your leadership team. So more importantly, the framework is specifically engineered to identify any red flags really early in the process, catching behavioral inconsistencies that AI or a standard interview would completely miss. But not only that, did you know that top talent typically gets snapped up faster, as I mentioned, 10 days. So you really need to act very quickly. You need to have your time already booked out in your diary for when you're going to interview, because top candidates will literally go very fast. A framework enables a recruitment partner to do exactly that. So let's talk about a little bit, if you can bear with me, about Employee Matters, our recruitment partner service. Basically, this was the market telling me this is how we needed to recruit. And I'm an ex-recruitment consultant for my skin. So we met the needs of the market when we recruited this product. In a nutshell, you buy a parcel of hours and we can either just do the bits you don't want to do, like reference checks, or we can do it end to end. We partner with businesses and gain a very in-depth knowledge of their business. So we can sell your proposition to candidates so they take your role and not someone else's. We want to make sure that they are a fabulous match to your business at a fraction of the cost. So as our business is also a HR consultancy, we can offer you other services such as the development of your own bespoke EVP, what's in it for the candidates to work with you, which is key to attracting and retaining candidates, and the assessment and development of a fit for purpose onboarding process so you don't lose them after they start. That's an essential part of retaining those hard fought for candidates over the critical first few months. We also do award interpretation of modern awards. There's some 155 of them. So you can do that with an in-house recruiter. But ultimately, the Employee Matters advantage is that you're no longer gambling tens of thousands of dollars on a placement fee. And it can be a gamble. You're implementing a effective pathway that delivers high quality hires, protects your culture, and saves your business time and money. I wanted to share how it works in practice just before I wrap up for today. So I wanted to share a live and a still active case study with one of our wonderful clients, EV Networks, the electric charging stations, who were an early adopter of our recruitment partner support. They helped us shape it, in fact. Evie's been a client of ours for a number of years now. We've supported them through recruitment and HR through their startup phase and their scale-up phase. They are a massive fan of our recruitment partner service, and I think this case study highlights and embeds how that can look, that partner service with that ongoing relationship that we still have with this client. So the big star of this slide, if you haven't spotted it already, is the massive cost savings. Now, obviously, not every client is as big as Evie. We've got ones that have saved, but it's all relative. You save the same amount, whether you're big or, as in relative amount. So they did the maths. The maths speaks for itself. They calculated that they have saved some $800,000 over a 12-month period, or 75% across 45 hires, compared to what they would have spent had they used an agency. And even more now, as I say, as they continue to work with us, which is absolutely fantastic. So let's talk about next. I just wanted to talk quickly about the cost here, so you can do your own numbers off the back of this. So we've looked at the strategy, and now this brings us towards the end of our session. I want to challenge you to look at your own numbers. Work out some of these costs. Don't just guess your hiring costs. So use the recruitment cost forecasting calculator that's going to come back to you as part of our thank you in a minute for attending today's session. Plug in your own data and see where the leaks are. Remember, recruitment isn't just an expense line item, it's an investment. When you do it right the first time, you avoid the compounding costs of a bad hire. So the ROI of getting it right isn't just the right person in the right seat at the right time. It doesn't just cover salary. It literally pays for itself in their productivity and being a match for your culture. So that brings us to Q&A. And we are traveling very well for time. So thank you for that. So to help you map all of this out and take away what we've shared today, we've pulled together a special gift pack. All you need to do is pull out your phone, take a scan of the QR code, and it will give you access to the calculator. And if you wanted to, it lets you book into a discovery. It's complimentary discovery session to actually review your results with us. So on that note, I'm going to jump into Q&A. If you haven't already, quickly plug those questions in. I'm happy to answer them live. Just type them in there. And Caroline, if you can come off mute and let me know if we have any questions in the chat box so far.
Yes, I had a question from Melissa. Mm-hmm. And she was asking, would something like the recruitment partner service work with a business with, say, only about 10 or 12 people?
Absolutely. So what I love about it, Melissa, is you can, I wish I'd worked this out many, many years ago, by the way, because I've been doing this business for 14 years and we probably only started doing this a year or two ago. So as you're, Melissa, as you're running your business, if you go, I just want someone to screen these 200 CVs, and give me the top 4. And that's all we do for you. And then you might come back and go, can you just do the reference? And that's all we do for you. Or we can do the whole thing, from taking a job brief, writing a great ad, you sign off on the great ad, organizing the interviews, organizing the feedback, organizing the interviews, organizing the feedback, doing the reference check and the psychometrics, making the job offer. I think one of the things I forgot to share today is often people aren't very good at having those awkward conversations about salary. And what we're finding is candidates are pushing back more now and saying, all right, how many days can I work from home? Or actually, I wanted $5,000 more than that. And often hiring managers aren't really qualified to have or find those conversations easy, and they don't want to lose the candidate. So you might want to have a think about that as well. So I hope that's answered your question, Melissa, and happy to have a conversation anytime to share with you how it might work.
Amazing. And Jessica just asked, what can Employee Matters bring to the table that's different to an agency in terms of the candidates?
Yeah, I think one thing is candidate management. We get great feedback from our candidates about how even if they didn't get the job, they felt they were professionally looked after throughout the process. The other thing is that we pay a premium to LinkedIn so we can go and headhunt, so we can build talent pools. So say you've got a fast growth business and you know you're going to be hiring 10, 15, 20 as your business grows, we can start to map out who should be sitting in that talent pool so that you can literally shorten your recruitment cycle, and they know that they're part of that, so they get to understand that you're developing a relationship with them, you're going to be growing quickly, and you want to shorten the recruitment cycle, so you take them all the way through, and they know that they're now in a holding pen till your next opportunity comes up. Now, you may well lose them by that time because they've gone somewhere else, but they get to know, like, and trust you during that time in the talent pool scenario, and they're more likely to say yes when an offer comes their way.
Okay, I have one more question.
Thing, Caroline, unicorns. I keep getting told by our clients, and one of them is an electrician. Now, if anyone knows anything about electricians, they are one of the hardest roles to fill in Australia. And I had the MD say to me, ha, 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 Natasha, you filled the other ones easily. Now we're on to the electricians. Let's see how you go on that. And Jess, who's one of our employee expert gurus, found them the unicorn. They found the electricians for them.
She also had our recruitment team, I remember, had some successes recently with filling a job within 1 week.
Yeah.
Over several different ones. Yeah, it's really, really fast turnaround. Okay, I had another question from Andrew. Just wanted a bit of a clarification on using a partner service such as the recruitment partner service. If you can work on more than one role at a time.
Yes, I should have said that. So here's the thing. We have a client, Zip, the taps, the fancy taps. I wish I could afford one, but I can't. And we find their client service technicians, and we might be looking for 2 or 3. And that's all done under that bunch of hours. But what we've done, because we know them so well, and I think Micah and Jess have worked on this, we have got it down to 7 hours to fill these roles. There's no success fee in this. So because we can say that is a Melissa person, that is a Chris person, we can find it. And what success looks like for me, I think it's worth sharing this with everyone, is if my team members get invited to your Christmas party because they're so integrated into your team, and that your team members actually think they are a team member of your business. That's what success looks like for me. That's how well we get to know our clients.
I don't have any more questions in the chat box just yet, so please, everyone, if you have any last minute questions, put them in. But I'm also wondering, maybe everyone could answer in the chat box, if for the DIY recruiters out there, if they spend the time on doing really thorough reference checks for their new hires, because that's something that, of course, we would never skip.
Yeah,
the importance of that is massive.
Great, Chris. Well done. I think the other thing that I would just share is doing psychometrics, I think is important as well. We use Harrison's, as I said. And what I love about Harrison's is it's upped our fit. But the other thing is when you get a new hire and you don't know how to manage them or motivate them, you've already got that detail in that. So I use myself as an example often with Harrison's. Give me a microphone and an audience, might be quite obvious here. I'm in heaven. Give me an Excel spreadsheet. That is not my core skill. You do not want me doing that. I can do it, but it's not my best. You're not pointing me to where you're going to get the most productivity out of me. So you know that up front. You don't take 6 months to work that out.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, on to our last slide. And I'm going to give everyone an early mark. And I know because I've been talking constantly for 48 hours now. I'm looking forward to it myself. So here's how you can connect. We would love to connect with you. Feel free to reach out to me personally on LinkedIn and I'll connect with you. And here are the team's details so you can connect with any of them.
That next slide, Natasha.
Oh, yep. Let me do that. That would be good. Thank you, Caroline, for keeping me in check. Drum roll, please, to announce our winners. If you are a winner, if you could please send us an email to info@employeematters.com.au and I will send you a signed copy of my book. So, Caroline, who had the best question?
I think the best question was Melissa.
Great.
Well, thank you, Melissa. Just please send your address through. And our most interactive, thank you so much, has been Chris.
Fantastic,
And
Chris.
Chris, both you and Melissa, please get in touch. We're happy to send you out a book, and with our thanks. And anyone with any feedback, please just reply to send us an email. Let us know. We're always looking to hear what everybody thinks of our for these types of presentations and any suggestions for future ones.
Excellent.
Or
Thank
any
you,
questions
Caroline.
you missed out on, I'll come to you later.
Fantastic. So thank you to everyone who's hung about till the end. You have been a great audience. My name's Natasha Hawker, and remember, your employees really do matter. Thanks, guys. Have a great hump day.